So ready to bring you second half action here. Equipe Quebec getting ready to come to center field here, playing from right to left in their fancy blue jerseys, and the Prairies wearing red, playing left to right. 14-6, the advantage for Equipe Quebec over the Prairies right now. So after a very wet first game between Atlantic and Ontario, conditions have improved, and things are really drying out now, and you can see that by the level of play rising up. Pleasure to bring you this action this afternoon. Thanks to Connor McGee for providing the Twitter cover back in Victoria. Seen old Connor out in Calgary next week. Good to catch up with him there. Oh, a nice take off the kickoff. Wow, brilliant stuff by the outside center for Tiza. Clean hands out to McCormick, the hooker. And Quebec announcing their intention right off the kickoff. We want the ball and we want to keep the ball as Kathleen Keller takes it into contact. And look at the nice passing taking place now. And just what I was talking about, things drying out there very nicely. And the confidence level growing with each touch of the ball for Equipe Quebec. And now the drop ball for the simplest of passes. And now a penalty offside. Prairies. Prairies will kick that. That's White. She gives her team a little bit of advantage there. Oh, and a bit of a miscue midfield for the Prairies. They pick up that loose ball, and look at that pounding run by 13, Taylor Post. She scored under the posts yesterday. Can she pull the trick again this afternoon? No tries yet by the Prairies. This Quebec defense has been stifling, but they have given away some penalties as we see Jalele Meyer going into contact. And Quebec stealing that again. And that might be arguably a penalty coming. An advantage being played for Quebec and none coming well behind the line. Ems still waiting to see if they get any benefit. They couldn't possibly be advantage over, I guess he's saying. Now with that kick down the field, pressure relieved, and Prairies with the counter. Oh, and right off the shoulder of the Quebec player on that far wing into Prairie possession. Advantage from the knock-on being played and none coming. Oh, yeah, and we'll go with... Oh, and so advantage hadn't been gained by the Prairies yet, and so it really should be, well, it's a scrum to the Prairies there, so they brought it back. Okay. Just felt the positioning should have been a little further up, but talking a meter or two. Or he was already playing advantage on the first knock-on, and then played the second knock-on. And now, coming in from the side, the Prairie's not binding down properly. Oh, nice spin passes. Oh, a nice spin move by Copeland Dinnan. And what a fancy move by her as Huntley gets to the ball. And people just purring their praise about that move. Copeland Dinnan just got that ball and looked to throw a spin pass to the left and spun it herself instead. Wow. A lot more of what we saw in the first half, I think, where Quebec went 8 or 9 phases straight, just pick and drive from the rucks. Now just 4 meters out. The ball at the back feet Now another little pod breaking to the right. Prairie's absorbing the pressure, but how long can they do it? And now a penalty coming in from the side. So the Prairies getting lucky there. Lauren White, though, just kicking it up the middle of the park. Cleanly taken by the wing coming in at Petrinos. And now a bit of a gap outside. And how do you do? So Quebec punishing the wayward kick of the Prairies. White just kicking it up the middle. And 2 passes later, so after about 7 minutes of pressure from Quebec, they get across the line. Big conversion kick here for Titley. She's a good kicker and was hitting some in some wet weather there earlier. What can she do with dry conditions now? Well struck ball end over end off the post. So no extra points. Oh, and so try score for Quebec, Erin Van Gulik. Prairies with the restart. That's a good high kick. Oh, and shrugging off a tackler over on that far wing is a Quebec player. Quick pass inside to Huntley. Quebec's so methodical in the way they play, and that just shows because they drill and drill and drill again and lots of practice together and do so well. And now quick hands down the line, gathered in late by the wing McBride. Look at all the help and support there. Prairie's desperate to counter ruck, but now the scrum half, Benzakein getting to it, saying, oh, didn't come through the gate. That's a harsh one, but Quebec retreating. Benzakein looked to come cleanly through that ruck. So the Prairies, decent position for the first time this half against Quebec. And can they string together some phases and come away with something more than a penalty? They got 2 in the first half, but a try right now would help right the ship. Remember, these are 2 undefeated teams. Both teams played yesterday and won yesterday. Flat pass to the middle. Nice link up to the outside center, Taylor Post. But to keep losing it into possession, into contact, the possession is lost by the Prairies. Here's Quebec now. Might have nudged forward. And a bit of an overlap. Oh, but agonizingly off the fingers of the Quebec midfield players. So here's a good chance for the Prairies now. The scrum just right of center at the 22-meter line. So watch the Prairies settle in here. This is really they got to make the most of this visit down to the Quebec end. A lot of movement in that scrum as they're putting the ball in. That's Folk. And now as Quebec stolen that against that, no. Prairie's driving backwards but maintaining possession. That ball coming out of the back, and that's fair ball. They should be jumping on that. Flanker for the Prairies. Kim Plants. Now, that's Taylor Post. Ball going sideways, though. They need more forward momentum, the Prairies do. Forward pass. So Quebec will settle down for a scrum. And now time off. And numero 21, number 21 for Quebec coming on, Ashley Strike. They call her Striker. They're going, yeah, Striker, get on there. She'll replace, I believe it's Megan Copeland, didn't it? Quebec retreating now. Look at that. At pace through the gap. Nice offload. Quebec in numbers now. Oh, and that might have been forward. Quebec, though, making the most of it. Oh, and picked up in open play. Stolen by the Prairie center, Darius Tendler. Possession changes again. Quebec getting to it. At the back feet of the Quebec player. So good work here by both teams. And look at Ontario. I apologize. Keep calling Ontario. The Prairies pinching that again at the breakdown. And nice step inside. Support on offer. Could this be the Prairies' first try of the afternoon? No. Gathered in by the cover D. And now the Prairies jumping on that loose ball. But so is Quebec. And Quebec has come away with it. So a lot of good stuff by the Prairies. But Quebec scrambling back to cover. And that's a good sign that Prairies are rattling Quebec. Not often that they'll kick that into touch to try and relieve the pressure. They would rather counterattack whenever possible. So that was a moment where they said, no, we need to stop and reset. Number 17, Lindsay Ewan coming on for the Prairies. Likely Audrey Marcotte, or is it Yost coming off? White, spin pass to midfield to Elisa Sandron coming in from the fullback position. Now Quebec just dropping on that ball as it went across the line. Now it'll be a 22-meter dropout, so good net result for the Prairies. Putting pressure, and I think they need to do more of that, is just keep punching the ball down deep into the Quebec end and see if they can make some mistakes, net some benefit for them. Nice high kick taken by Darius Tendler. Kim Berry now with it. Folk to the other flanker, Miranda Seifert. She played number 8 yesterday. Utility back row player. Now here's your other number 8, Keisha Joden. So Prairie stringing some nice phases together. Now across the 22-meter line. and making some meters with each touch of the ball. Nice give and go by Folk, but she cannot connect on the pass. Looking for the flag on that far side. Rose Lebreche right there. Stays in bounds. Stays on the Prairies side. First up running by the loose forwards. Lauren White at the line of the 22-meter line, not the try line. And so you can see the pressure now. Quebec has stolen that. Now showing good intent. Fake pass now. Titley, one-handed, no-look pass. Great job by Titley. Interplay from the wing on the this side. McBride still staying Quebec side. Ackermans. Advantage now to Quebec. Pardon me. So the Prairies will retreat. So a great bit of interplay there by the Quebec backs and forwards. Titley saying, yeah, come on, let's get further down into Prairie territory. So it'll be line out to Quebec. They haven't scored in some minutes, so they'll be looking to keep that scoreboard ticking over. McCormick is the thrower. Second jumper of the target. Clean in. Will they get it clean out? Look at the maul form there. And now that's gone to ground. Ruck formed. Nice spin pass by Benzakine. Prairies looking fired up. They want that ball back. Quebec equally fired up, even though they've got the lead. Playing with intensity. That's Rebecca McKean now with the ball. Offload over to the front rower. Provencal Obey. Camille is her first name. Good patience by Quebec. Just want to secure that ball and drive it up another meter. 7 meters out. Just a few meters shy of the try line now. Oh, things getting a little spicy in there. Oh, and the penalty coming. And coming in from the side. And so now what does Quebec do? Take the penalty, or will they take a scrum? Will they just quick tap it? They're going to go for posts. Conservative approach. So Titley getting the penalty to make it 22-6. And what can the Prairies offer in response? Good restart by the Prairies. So folks, if you're tuning into this game wondering why is it still on, this was a late start by about 4:15 as opposed to 4 o'clock after a rain delay and lightning delay essentially between the Ontario and Atlantic teams. Took about 25 minutes to clear that up. So pretty safe lead at 22-6. Now that ball coming out the back of the Prairie scrum. Spinning in the tackle. Number 11 for Ontario Prairies, Jessica Barry. 5 teams and 2 of them are wearing the same color. We'll promise to try and stop calling Prairies Ontario. White, good interchange with the fullback, Sandron. Now look at the gap here by 23 for the Prairies. Nice bit of running by Samantha Matheson. She's finally wrapped up. Pressure time for Quebec. That ball staying Prairie side, but it's not tidy. And now Quebec has gotten it, but not before a penalty coming in from the side. So Ems pinging Quebec again. And frustration piling up for Prairies. And you can see the body language. They're putting everything into it, and they can't believe that it's not getting them what they want. But White wants to get that ball deeper into Quebec territory. So that'll help things. Bring it about 10 meters out. 12 meters maybe. So line out time for the Prairies, and if they're going to make a move, now is the time to make the move. A 7-point try here would make it 22-13 with still more than 15 minutes to play. Oh, and that's going to be a penalty, and that might be against the Prairies because you got to return that player safely to ground. So they didn't return the jumper to ground, but was there something to do with the Quebec players knocking her out of position? So interesting how this could go. It might be against the Prairies, even though it was their own player that fell down. But they're looking over at some likely suspects on the Quebec side. Will it be a card? Likely it could be in this kind of situation where dangerous play. We're going to see Ems call over the captain. I mean, there's no malice in it, but you've got to be really careful. And that was 16 for the Prairies. Lock Lisa Hildebrand. So nothing more coming of it, but certainly a warning. We got to be careful on that kind of stuff. So the understanding was that a Quebec player may have been responsible for that player falling to the ground like that. Emily Totosi taking that ball into contact from the quick tap ball. And now another penalty. And Quebec have got to be careful they don't give up a penalty try here. Folk to the flanker, Seifert. Prairies can really taste the try line now. And now it's going to be a scrum to the Prairies. There's going to be a change in the front row at a crucial time here as number 3 for the Prairies is coming on the field, Caitlin Riley. So even though she's wearing number 3, she hasn't been in the game yet. They're not sticking to the numbering protocols. 24 coming off in the form of Camille Franklin. She had a hard afternoon in there against the Quebec front row. Will fresh legs help bolster this Prairie squad? comes out cleanly. Here's a chance. Big run, step inside, and this is a try for number 23, Samantha Matheson. And that was a tricky bit of running. She had two defenders to beat, stepped one and then stepped the other one across the line. So an important try, an important time for the Prairies to keep them in this game at 22-11 with the conversion to come. That's going to be a tough kick from the right side. So we see a Quebec player getting up slowly after that and looking a little wobbly. Yeah, and she is not looking good. And that's the flanker, blindside Rebecca McKean. And she is definitely feeling the ill effects of maybe a knock to the head. So the trainer looking for a change in personnel. White, a decent kicker, but this is a pretty big ask. Conditions okay, not wet. She's going to... Oh, she's kicked that well. It may have just gone in front of the post. It did. So 22-11. So they're 11 points down with about 15 minutes now left in this game.
Try by Prairies, number 23, Samantha Matheson.
So the Prairies have got to be feeling buoyant now, getting their first try of the afternoon after a pair of penalties. But 11 points, that's still, two tries that they really need to score, a 7-pointer and a 5-pointer in order to prevail. Not impossible, but they really need to tighten up things around the breakdown. Hold on to that ball because Quebec is larcenous at the breakdown. Boom, big run up the middle by the Prairies, number 16. That's Lisa Hildebrand. Folk, clean service to White. And now look at the gap here. Oh, and the misfire on the chip kick by the inside center, Darius Tendler. She was just shaking her head as soon as she went for the chip kick, and it went to ground instead of off her foot. And now drop ball by Quebec. Will be a little bit of compensation for that miscue. It'll be a scrum to the Prairies, but Tendler was thought she was away to the races for a chip and chase. Instead, she was looking over her shoulder at a drop ball. And that's got to be a sick feeling as an inside center, especially with the nice break through the gap she had there. Look at two of the hardest working women in Rugby Canada, Jen Smart and Alana Gattinger, making all these events happen. Now here, nice break inside, and just a fiery approach now by Folk. They can feel like the tide is changing a little bit against Quebec here. But look at the counter-rucking by Quebec, and that ball advantage coming to Quebec if they need it. And that's a bit of a flat pass into the line, linked up well by the wing, McBride, and now a penalty. They'll come back, no advantage gain coming in from the side. So Quebec will give this a kick into touch. Will it find touch? It may just stay in. Oh, an acrobatic play by number 23 from the Prairies, Matheson, the try scorer, doesn't do enough to keep that ball in bounds. McCormick the hooker now. She must be precise here. Quebec are feeling the slip in momentum here, and they want to score another try here to put some emphasis on the afternoon. Bit of a forward pass there, a flat pass at best, taken by Della Porta. Back inside to the second row, Huntley. Quebec so good at arriving in numbers. And that seems to be a bit of the difference there. Ball's gone to ground. Stays Quebec's side. Didn't go forward, says Ems. Now getting a bit isolated, flipping it back inside. That was a good pass from the center, Fortiza. And stepping one tackler is number 8, Kathleen Keller. She has been a stalwart in the back row for Quebec this afternoon. Look at them picking and driving successfully yet again. Every touch of the ball just clawing away at Prairie's territory. Prairie's absorbing the pressure, but you've got to recycle your players out of those breakdowns, because look at that, now flying and leaving their feet. You got to be careful at that. Those tackles, you got to stay on your feet. And Quebec going to the right, 5 meters out. As most of these tries haven't been spectacular by Quebec. They've just been workmanlike in terms of their creation, just phase after phase, pounding away. Now a penalty, leaving their feet. Quebec leaves their feet. Even though they're in possession, they got to stay on their feet. And the Prairies have got a bit of a time crunch to consider. They're having a quick chat about how they want to approach things. Beautiful afternoon here now after the weather we had earlier. Ems talking to captain for Quebec, number 9, scrum half, Aaron Benzakine. Benzakine relaying instructions similar to what Ontario was going through. At one point down 3 players in the sin bin for repeated infringements, and I mean, you just can't do that. And as a referee, it's a tough bind, because you're saying, hey, look, you're not playing by the rules. You leave me no choice. But it almost turns farcical when you start sending that many people off, but that's what you got to do. Prairies now, not much of a kick there from White, and nearly hit a stroller. Dads, when you bring your kids to the park, don't put them near the trolley. The ball actually ended up in the stroller. Thank goodness the baby wasn't in there. What a story you got to tell mom. Oh, the baby's at the ER because a rugby ball landed in the stroller. Advantage being played. Knock on by the Prairies in the lineout. Had a replacement, a couple of replacements by the Prairies. Sorry, I missed that. We got number 17 on front row, Lindsay Ewan for the Prairies. Off the field is number 9, Julia Folk. She had a good game. And we'll see who else came off. Walking gingerly, I want to say that's a flanker, number 7, Miranda Seifert. So Prairies changing things up just a little bit, and so they should. Those players have played nearly they've played yesterday, but this game feels like it's 2 games. There's just a lot of running going on. Okay, now we have a yellow card to Quebec, I believe, and racing to sit down so that the clock will start. And that's something that some players don't know when they take a drink and wander back. Your 10 minutes doesn't start until you're seated at the sin bin chair. Oh, and that's an athletic play by the winger on that side, McBride. She kicks possession back to the Prairies, though. A great job by McBride to keep that in play. Now, Prairies keen to take advantage of the one player being off the field. Quebec comes away with it at the breakdown. Huntley linking well. Getting it back to McBride now, and that goes just into touch. So it'll be a Prairies lineout inside their own 22. 34 minutes gone in this game now. So the Prairies' afternoon hanging in the balance. If they can score another try right now, they would be in a good position for the comeback, but they've got to do it in the next couple of minutes. And that's a Quebec hand knocking that to ground. And into touch goes scrum half Benzakine. Short line out by the Prairies. Quebec matches. Just checking the mark now. Quebec hand manages to get to it, stays Quebec side. The line out not working real well the last couple minutes. Flag out by the assistant referee on that side. Will we have something else from Quebec? Could Quebec be down 2 players? Quebec player being called over. Second card to Quebec. And now the door is opened wide for the Prairies as we have a second player coming off the field for Quebec. Not sure what happened. It had to be somewhere in the line out. Something was going on. And Quebec player not understanding that she's got to get back and sit down. She's taking her time. And just didn't pick up the number of who's come off there, unfortunately. So the Prairies not finding touch with that penalty kick, but now knock on, and the frustration building for the Quebec players as they realize they had this game in hand, but now the Prairies with 2-player advantage here. Having another change here by the Prairies. These women are gutting it out. That's number 6 for Prairie's Kim Plants, who's come off the field. And pick up who went on for her. Now is the time to make something happen for the Prairies. The miss-out pass. Nice linking up with Matheson. Now down the line to number 22. The fullback, Sandron. Driving, working hard, and now losing the ball in possession. The Prairies players leaving their feet at the breakdown. Silly stuff late in this game with a 2-player advantage. They are going to just let the clock slip away on them if they're not careful. Quebec will be all about slow and steady wins the race. They are going to eat up this clock. Manger le temps. Eat the time. Not even sure if that's a saying. I just made it up. So the Prairies 11 points adrift. They need to score a try to start the comeback. That would put them at 22-18, and then a second try unconverted to put them in the lead. So a lot of things have to happen, but there are 2 Quebec players in the bin. Remember, 13 on 15 right now for Quebec. But Quebec playing with some confidence despite being shorthanded. They have pulled together well, but Prairie's putting in the tackles at midfield. Now, nice switch, and Ontario. Quebec is possibly going to let a try in here. While being down 2 players, Quebec could score here if they're not stopped by the Prairies. Quebec is throwing it around like the Harlem Globetrotters. And what a great open field tackle on the wing, Petrinos. But just 5 meters out. This Quebec team acting like we haven't had yellow card troubles at all. Now almost at the line. Quebec mates urging them on. Pick and drive to the right of that ruck. Now, fancying their chances down the back line. Titley. Three tacklers finally bringing down the Quebec runner. Why are the Quebec players retreating behind their own goal line? And now a penalty. Offside by Quebec. So now almost dead center of the pitch. The Prairies have got a tough decision to make, and I think they're going to take it by tapping and going, as a kick didn't really help them in that position. But now they're offering possession right back to Quebec in the form of Petrinos. It's a dangerous runner. Prairies had that happen once before where White threw it up the middle of the park, kicked it up the middle of the park. 2 passes later, Quebec had scored to open up the second half. Oh, and that's going to be a try for Quebec. Down 2 players. And Quebec has sealed the deal here against the Prairies. Nice bit of running by Quebec. Short 2 players. And no ill effect in terms of their offensive output. Trying to see who that player was. And that was the number 8 for Quebec, Kathleen Keller. Just dessert for her for the hard work she's been putting in this afternoon, as we have Petrinos taking over kicking duties here. And this may well be full time at this point with this kick. So remember, action tomorrow is going to see Ontario taking on Quebec. 2 p.m. We'll be on the air starting around 1:55. And BC will be playing the Prairies at 4 o'clock Eastern, all times Eastern. And now we're getting some help with the pin here. No, finally that ball stand up, and she may be nearly out of kicking time here. Yeah, about, I think it's a minute to get this done. And, yeah, Ems is looking at his watch going, took you 45 seconds to set that up, and good looking kick, but it stays to the left, and they'll have a time for a restart.
Try for Quebec by number 8, Kathleen Keller.
The announcement of the try met with whoops of joy from the Quebec team that are now 2-0 with this 27-11 win, and the result throws the rest of the table into some interesting configurations with a lot of rugby still to play this week. Now, Quebec still short 2 players. Will they score another try, which would be most impressive against a 15-player Prairie side? That ball's gone loose, and it'll be a scrum for the Prairies. And we've got to be getting down to the last few seconds of this game. They were hoping to have Twin Elm evacuated or emptied by about 6 o'clock, but it's just coming on 6 o'clock Eastern now. So I don't think that's going to happen. Prairies trying to hit the mark one more time and at least get the points for and against. Still important, especially when you're at 1-1 and there's other teams at 1-1. You know, you've everything to play for even in late stages of a game when you're playing a round-robin tournament. There's no elimination round. It's just, that ball is partially charged down. Everyone on side. Quebec hand got to it. Really, a lot of people pointing to this game between Ontario and Quebec tomorrow as potentially the championship decider. Look at this. Oh! A smashing tackle onto the Quebec player. An argument being made for maybe a high tackle. It was a pretty amazing bit of tackling by Matheson of the Prairies. And now they are calling the high tackle. And boy, if he believed it was high, then it's probably worthy of a card. That was a bit of a huge tackle on the fullback from Quebec. And that might be full time. It is, and that is the win for Quebec. 27-11, the final score here at Twin Elm Rugby Park in Ottawa. Thanks a lot for watching, and we're going to wrap things up here, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow, 1:55 p.m., Ontario versus Equipe Quebec from Twin Elm Rugby Park. Thanks to Amanda, and thanks to you for watching at home. We'll talk to you again real soon.